After Parliament thwarted his snap election bid last week, Boris Johnson gave it another go in a sitting stretching into the early hours of Tuesday. Once again, he was not prepared to compromise on his vision of a swift Brexit.
I'm grateful. Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. I will go to Brussels, our government will go to Brussels on October the 17th and negotiate our departure on the 31st of October. Hopefully with a deal, Mr. Speaker, but without one if necessary. I will not ask for another delay.
This drew a predictable response from the opposition, which wants to avoid a no-deal Brexit.
We're eager for an election, but as keen as we are not prepared to risk inflicting the disaster of no deal on us, our communities, our jobs, our services, or indeed our rights.
In the end, Prime Minister Johnson's election bid was easily defeated. MPs were quick to pounce.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I should perhaps congratulate the Prime Minister because at least he's been consistent. He's lost every vote he's brought to this House since he became Prime Minister.
Parliament has now gone into recess for 5 weeks after Johnson prorogued the House. The opposition made their opinion clear about that too.
Let's get the view from London now. We are joined by DW's Birgit Mass. Birgit, we have Parliament now suspended until mid-October, just over 2 weeks before the October 31st Brexit deadline. So what is going to be happening backstage between now and then?
Well, yes, Sarah, really quite extraordinary. Now Parliament is deserted for the next weeks, in stark contrast to the scenes that we've seen inside Parliament last night, where MPs, and you have shown it, were shouting. And this is really, really extremely unusual. Normally, during these ancient rituals, when somebody comes over from the House of Lords for one of these ceremonies, parliamentarians are very polite, but it just shows the anger that there is in Parliament to what the government has been doing. And that anger will now be transformed behind the scenes. MPs are now retreating. They're going to meet again for their party conferences, which are going to happen in a few weeks' time. But also they will be talking to each other, and particularly the parties that are plodding to remain in the European Union, the MPs that want to stay in the European Union and that want to prevent leaving the European Union without a deal. They will be talking to each other. The talk is about a general election. It's probably unavoidable, and our MPs then, our parties then, going to help each other with so-called electoral pacts. So this is really the talk of the town at the moment.
And we also have, Birgit, this law preventing Britain leaving the EU without a deal. It was signed yesterday by the Queen. Does that mean now that the UK must leave the EU with a deal?
It means that at the end of October, which is the next deadline, the UK cannot leave without a deal. This is what Parliament here has decided and has enshrined into law. We are not yet clear how the Prime Minister, how the government is going to deal with it, because we have seen in this extraordinary tug-of-war between government and Parliament being at loggerheads with each other, and the Prime Minister still saying that he does not want to ask for an extension. And he said, we are going to leave, do or die, and he'd rather be dead in a ditch. So he's using this militaristic language in order to show the fighting spirit that he's in. What are his options? That is an interesting question. He can, and that would probably be the most sensible option, go to the EU at the mid-end of October summit and try and negotiate a somehow different deal, a slight variation to Theresa May's deal, and then he can try and present it here to Parliament. The thinking is that MPs who have in the past voted down the government's deal, Theresa May's deal, might now think again, because we're seeing that Britain is really, in a way, at the end of a road, and that might be one of the few options that the Parliament has in order to influence that process any further. So we might see a revived deal, but we really don't know. Boris Johnson has not really made clear what his strategy is, but he said he doesn't want to ask for an extension.
Birgit Maas in London. Thank you, Birgit. Now, in the midst of a high drama day at the British Parliament, the Speaker John Bercow announced that he would be stepping down within weeks. His performances in the House of Commons keeping lawmakers in check, that became his trademark. Have a look.
He had to manage these people. He used one word, like a weapon.
Order! Very rude for members. Order!
Sometimes he gave ministers a proper dressing down.
Don't gesticulate, don't rant, spare us the theatrics, behave yourself, be a good boy, young man, be a good boy. Order, order. I asked the House.
It all looked like good fun, but announcing his departure, Bercow explained how seriously he took the job he was leaving.
Throughout my time as Speaker, I have sought to increase the relative authority of this legislature, for which I will make absolutely no apology to anyone, anywhere, at any time.
They'll miss him.
Order! Order!
And no doubt he'll miss them.